In this video, I'm going to give an example of how important adding indexes and constraints and other metadata is to your tables and your columns within the database, as the optimizer within the database can use all of this information to try to execute your query in an efficient manner. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to connect to my schema. So I'm going to connect to my virtual machine. I'm going to just do the student schema. Just makes the text just a little bit smaller to fit in. So I'm going to just drop the tables that I have, and then I'm just going to recreate them. Okay. We should be able to see those appearing once I have connected. So I've connected, and we'll run those commands. Okay, so we got them run there, and we can see that they've been created. Next thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert some data. So this is just random data, effectively. It's kind of slightly manufactured data into it. So in the store table, I'm going to insert 50 records. In the customer table, I'm going to insert 5,000. And in the the sales table, I'm going to insert like 1 million records. So what we'll have is a reasonable amount of data that we can actually use to query the data and being able to kind of test to see how well it performs and so forth. So we've just run that, and that should kind of create within a few seconds. There we go. We get to see it's been generated or created, and we've done our commit on our table. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do, this is going to be our query, so we're going to be joining the three tables, but we're going to do an auto trace. So we're going to have a look to see how the database actually executes it. So in this particular case, what we're going to do is we're going to run it as a script, because we need to be able to see the output from it. So if I just make the bottom part of the screen a little bit bigger for the initial bit, and what we get to see is, well, it executes the data, and then we can inspect the explain plan. And what we get to see is we are performing kind of a full table scan on each of the three tables, and we'll know that's not a good thing to be able to do. So when we kind of think about kind of generally good practices, which sometimes good practices aren't necessarily proper practices, and we kind of think of, well, if I have indexes, right, that will help me avoid having to do full table scans. So this is where we're kind of creating some indexes, some unique indexes across the different tables. Now we're not creating indexes on everything, but maybe these are things that we can actually run and get a reasonable response times on it. I get to see that they're created there. Now when I rerun the query, you kind of think that maybe we are going to get some good performance because we've kind of created indexes on some of the join attributes and stuff like that. So let's have a look at the execution plan again. So I just increase the size here. When we look at the execution plan, we get to see as well, it's using one of the indexes, but on two of the tables, it's still doing a full table scan. And the one that has the 1 million records in it, it's still doing a full table scan on it. Okay, so it isn't quite picking up things or doing what we maybe actually hoped. But what we can do is we can actually feed it with certain information. So we can feed things to do with what are primary keys. Okay, we can tell it that certain attributes and columns are within the tables, whether they're null or not null, And what we can also do is we can actually define our foreign key constraints. And this is providing the optimizer with more information that it can actually use in order to determine what way to execute the query. Right. So we've added more information into it. This time, when we go and execute the query, we're going to get a different execution plan. This time, what we can see is that it's much smaller, and in this case, we're not seeing any full table scans. We're just seeing an index scan on the sales primary key. And that's down to the information that we actually provided within the defining the constraints and defining the primary key. Is all the information that's necessary is there within the index. So it'll only use the index and never have to go to the table to be able to pull back the data from it. And that in itself what makes it extremely efficient execution.